Good morning, everybody. I know it's hot, but you can say it a little better. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Because this is not just a hot day. We're here to talk about how hot it's going to be here at the shops at Iverson. So we should be excited. We should be pumped up. We've got folks from the neighborhood here. We've got folks from county government here. Our county executive is running a little late behind schedule, but we're going to go ahead and start and get this ball rolling. My name is Barry Hudson. I'm the Director of Communications for County Executive Rashawn Baker, and we're excited to be here in District 7, and we're excited to be here for a number of reasons. We're excited because of what we're going to announce today, but we also are excited because this is really about community. This is about exactly what the county executive, I believe, talked about back in April when he said, I see opportunity, and he talked a lot about Suitland. He talked a lot about this area of Hillcrest Heights and Marlow Heights and Coral Hills. So this is an important day for that reason. We have a number of speakers here today that we have coming up who will say a few words to you. And we're going to start things off with Tim Donovan, who is our host for the day. So I'm going to hand it off to Tim.
All right, Tim. Run us on base.
Morning. Pick it up. Yeah. You hear me better? Okay. Morning. Again, I'm Tim Donovan, Development Director of Shops at Iverson. And to borrow one of the county executives' line, it's a great day at Iverson.
That's right.
Before discussing our plans and vision for Iverson, I want to thank a few people who have been instrumental in helping us through this process of acquiring the funding through the Economic Development Incentive Fund. First and foremost, County Executive Baker. He was here. Obviously, he's been extremely helpful with guiding us through that process, and we really thank him for his guidance, not only in the county, but also on the Branch Avenue corridor as a whole. In conjunction with the county executive, I want to thank our councilwoman, Karen Tolles. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it this morning, but she's been also instrumental in helping us navigate the process of not only the EDI fund, but also through permitting, construction, and all the work that we've done thus far. I also want to say a special thank you to the EDC, most notably Jim Coleman and Larry Hentz. They continue to strive to better the business community in the county, and again, were really, really helpful to me, especially getting through everything. Also want to thank the EDI committee and FSC, most notably David Iannucci, for everything he does for this county and this corridor. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank the various community groups that have really been inspiring to our redevelopment efforts, most notably Hillcrest Heights, Temple Hills, Suitland, Fleischman Village Community Associations. They've been great throughout this whole process, and I want to send a special thank you to them as well. Quickly, I want to discuss our redevelopment plans. Some of you heard bits and pieces, but I want to kind of lay it out for everybody so everybody's clear on what the plan is. So, first of all, I want to reiterate that the overall goal is to bring Iverson back to its former prominence. Throughout my time working in this corridor, I've been overwhelmed with the stories of first jobs, first dates, first bank accounts that tie so many generations of residents to this project. And it's those types of stories that we want to bring back to this project, and hopefully our redevelopment will do that. To do that, we plan to bring national retailers who are committed to this community. As phase one, we'll bring in national restaurant chains to help us redevelop and repurpose the area you see behind me through these renderings. This section of the property will be rebuilt to create a main street where families can come shop, eat, and congregate for lunch, dinner, weekends, and all the time. This main street is being designed to not only include quick service restaurants, but also full service restaurants, which will cater to the lunch and dinner crowd. In addition to the dining options, we're working to bring another anchor store, medical offices, community-oriented nonprofits, and various other initiatives meant to provide the neighboring community healthy food options that currently are not available. These complementary uses will create great synergy between our restaurant tenants and the retailers that are currently and will become tenants of ours on site. In closing, I want to make sure that I mention how helpful and passionate the area community has been. They've been essential in providing some perspective on the history of the project and creative suggestions on what type of tenants that are needed in the area. We have taken all those concerns to heart and are trying to bring as many of the suggested retailers and restaurants here that we possibly can. Thank you again, everybody, for being so helpful in this process, and we're extremely excited that the EDI Fund has bought into our project and bought into our redevelopment, because we're certainly excited about it and we certainly believe in it. So thank you again, and have a nice weekend.
Tim mentioned the community, and I want to recognize those folks, at least the organizations that make things happen in the community. First, before I do that, though, we have some dignitaries here. I want to recognize Sheriff High. Please give him a round of applause. Want to recognize Council Member Mel Franklin. And representing Chief Stawinski, I want to recognize Commander Velez. Now, and I can't forget the leader of our economic development activity, Mr. Tom Himmler. We have representatives here from the Redevelopment Authority Board. Could you either raise your hand or stand up? Also from the Revenue Authority Board, raise your hands or stand up. Also from DuPont Village, we've got representatives from DuPont Village. See them there in the beautiful shirts in the back. From Bradbury Heights. Also from let's see, Hillcrest Marlow Heights Civic Association. I have to say it, the mayor, Mr. Gomes. What we also have here, and here's why community is so important. A few years ago, the county executive started his Transforming Neighborhoods initiative, and he started it in 6 communities around the county. Today, we have some of the representatives either from the government team or from the community teams here, from our T&I teams in Suitland, Coral Hills, as well as the Hillcrest Heights, Marlow Heights T&I team. So if you're here from either of those T&I teams, raise your hand. So speaking of community, I'm going to hand it over to not just the chair of the council, but probably, and Jim Coleman's here, who we call the chief cheerleader, economic cheerleader of the county. And I failed to recognize him, Jim Coleman, from our Economic Development Corporation and his board, as well as Shelley Gross-Wade here from the FSC First, and the leader of our Central Services Office, Mr. Roland Jones. So if you are a minority business and you need to get on our list, or local or small, check with Roland. But I want to introduce our council chair, who is, that wouldn't make you second cheerleader, would it?
Second, I'm great.
Okay, all right. So if they start doing, backhand springs and stacks in a second, we'll know what's going on here. But Derek Davis is absolutely a big cheerleader for the county, born and bred in Prince George's. And he says it often and reminds everyone often that he's born and bred and loves this county and loves where it's going and what it's doing. So I'm going to hand it over to the cheerleader and the chair of the council, our chair, Derek Davis.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Prince George's County. Get on up. Get it up now. Bring it up. This is a celebration. You know, it's very few times when, as a born and raised Prince Georgian, I get to shake my shoulders and brush off the dust and say, watch us like a phoenix, because we shall rise. But today here, right in front of Iverson Mall, we should be celebrating the phoenix arising. So clap your hands for that right now. They also say if you don't have vision, what's going to happen? You going to do what? You going to do who? This right here is vision. So guess what? This community is on its way to ensuring that in Prince George's County, back in 1967, this was just a mall, right? Now, we all have watched the decades that have tattered and tore and pulled apart, but do you see revitalization happening? Do you see revitalization happening? Then that's how we make it happen as a community. Let me tell you, and your council member who represents this district, Karen Toles, you know it had to be pretty important for her not to be here today. She's been working on this for some time, along with my colleague on the county council, your neighbor in District 9, Mr. Mel Franklin. Give him a round of applause and give her a round of applause. And she wanted me to come. She called me early this morning because she's attending the Leadership Greater Washington retreat. And Leadership Greater Washington brings together public, service, business, civic, nonprofit leaders in the Greater Washington area to think about the vision of Greater Washington. Everyone who knows that Prince George's County is about 500 square miles of opportunity, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Now clap them. Because I want you to resoundingly let this region know what Prince George's County is. Whether it's in Conterra, whether it's in Westphalia, or whether it's right here at Iverson Mall, opportunities exist for Prince George's County and businesses to come and locate. What you're seeing right here behind you, that's going to take us, how long is it going to take us to make this happen? How long is it going to take us to make this happen? Come on, somebody give me an answer. Tim's shy now, huh? Tim bunted us on base, but he's shy. Let me tell you, regardless of how long it takes us to make it happen, you think about the decades of reality that came before it, okay? So when it happens, it will actually be a wrinkle in time. The reality for us, though, is that we need you to understand how difficult realities like this are to make. This is one of the largest areas of county investment by the county government in the entire county. This is what we call a TIF district. From the perspective of TIF districts, we probably could fit most of our TIF districts inside of this TIF district. Now, I'll allow the technocrats to explain to you what that means, but what it means is the county said, it is time for us to look at our border of Washington, D.C., to look at this neighborhood and look at the opportunity called the traffic that traverses up and down Route 5 as it moves into the nation's capital, as it goes towards southern Maryland. And we need to make sure that the economic opportunities inherent to that, we take advantage of and we're going to invest in it. Do you understand that? That's right. This is an investment in opportunities for Prince George's County. And it doesn't happen if the community, Mr. Gums and the crew doesn't come together with the county government saying we have a few pennies that we can rub together to invest in this. If Mr. Donovan and Mr. Johnson and the economic development team doesn't come together, guess what happens? We pay taxes and we don't create benefit out of that tax. Do you understand that? This is all about commercial tax base on the rise in Prince George's County, taking advantage of our opportunities, making our community the what? Place to be. Prince George's, I don't think you get it. You should be right now clapping your hands, stomping your feet, and letting the world know that Prince George's County is the place to be. Nah, I still don't think you get it. And it's not that easy. See, there's no metro station right out here. And right now, across this great region, everyone's talking about metro development. Isn't that right, Tom? David? That's what we're talking about. There's no metro station here. But Within a mile and a half that way and maybe 2 or 3 miles that way, there are metro stations. And right here is a central point with a transportation artery that creates opportunity. And guess what? We are on the precipice of taking advantage of that opportunity. You got to be excited, because if you're not excited, no one will be excited. And if they're not excited, they won't bring their money to Prince George's County. Do you want other people to bring their money and drop it off in Prince George's County? Are you tired of taking your money and dropping it off in other jurisdictions? Are you tired of going to get your health care in Anne Arundel County, Washington, D.C., and anywhere else? Are you tired of that? I don't think you're tired. I don't think you're tired. It's time to be tired of that. It's time for us to focus on the opportunities that we have inherent to print. We got 15 metro stations. Who in the region got more? Where there's no development. We have opportunity. Every one of those is an opportunity for us to create the type of commercial development in Prince George's County that drives your tax base, your residential tax base down. Do you understand that? I need some celebration going on. When you walk up out of here today, when we walk away from here today, I need you to think like that, because it was that type of thinking that we on the county council brought to bear when we probably did what was counterintuitive. When we drew the biggest TIF district we could find. We said we're going to invest in a region, a triangle actually, that stretched from Iverson Mall to Suitland Metro to Branch Avenue. Isn't that right, Mr. Franklin? That's right. We said we're going to include this area and we're going to fight like hell for investment. And that's what you see your county executive, the administrative staff, the folks from economic development. That's what you see Mr. Johnson. That's what you see Mr. Donovan doing. Right to here today is investing in an opportunity to bring this area, Temple Hill, Suitland, Camp Springs, back to prominence. Now, I had to make me one promise. You know, I'm born and raised here, and I think he said it. I already lost my Arby's. You know, it used to be an Arby's. Y'all remember the Arby's? Used to be an Arby's. When I worked at the Census Bureau, you know, I didn't want chicken. I wanted some Arby's. So I used to come down here to get my roast beef sandwich. And I'll tell the truth. I had a girlfriend at the time, and she liked cookies. I ain't like cookies. She liked cookies, right? Everybody knows there's a cookie place in there, right? The Great Cookie. Hey, Mr. Donovan, don't take my cookie place away from here. All right, now, I'm not, that's right. I see my guy right here. He has the same problem I have, and she's smiling. So you do understand that the opportunities, and that's like Mr. Gums. Mr. Gums has been here since the ground. I was born in 1967 on Andrews Air Force Base, but Mr. Gums has been the mayor, so give him a round of applause, because I'm going to tell Mr. Donovan, Mr. Johnson, that you can do it without me and Ms. Tolles and Mr. Franklin, but you can't do it without Mr. Gums. I just want you to understand that. She sent me here to make sure I said that, Mr. Gums. It's the last text that I got. She said, make sure you recognize Mr. Gums and give the big round of applause, because we can't do this without our faith-based community for Tony Lee. I don't see him, but I know he's instrumental, so give him a round of applause. Reverend Tony Lee, who has his church service right here. And also the former Senator Gloria Lawler. She was also somebody who was instrumental in getting us this far. So give her a round of applause. What I need you to do, though, is not mistake my enthusiasm for over-exuberance. I need you to understand my enthusiasm for the opportunities of Prince George's County in the greater Washington metropolitan region. I need you to understand that the aggregate of your resources and the aggregate of our resources are bigger than this region understands, and it's our job to make them understand. Y'all about to do that? Are we about to do that? Well, let them hear it. Let them hear it. What we get ready to do? We get ready to let them know. So bring the world to Prince George's County, because we did it on purpose. All right? Let's make it happen.
Let the church say amen. Is there one? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. That's evangelism for Prince George's County. That's commitment. That's someone who absolutely cares about the advancement of this county. So that enthusiasm, I know, council member, you all hear it every day down on downstairs, and folks who are in this district hear it all the time. But if you haven't heard it before, you heard it today. So I'm going to turn it over to someone who has equally amount of enthusiasm. I'm going to turn it over to David Iannucci, who works on economic development in the county executive's office, to talk about EDI fund.
Oh, Lord, help me. And he hasn't had his coffee yet this morning either. So who knows where we would still be going on that. Derek, no one can match you on your enthusiasm, with the possible exception of Jim, in terms of jumping around and all that. But I think we all get it. And I think one of the most important things I could say, in here talking on behalf of the county executive and this great team of us who are working to join the community, to join our elected officials in this partnership, this didn't happen by accident. I like to quote Tom Himmler, who I work closely, my boss, and who helps oversee this. This great plan that's come to place, that from north to south in Prince George's County, where things are happening, where we have MGM opening in a few months, where we have a $700 million hospital bringing world-class medical care to this community, when we get the FBI in Prince George's County, all these projects inside the Beltway, where we're working to bring retail and grocery stores and jobs throughout the county. This did not happen by accident. It's part of the county executive's plan to deal with education. It's part of the great work that's been done by our public safety officials to bring down the crime rate, because that is, in Prince George's County, those are economic development factors. And what also didn't happen by accident is the tools that we now have. So we are here to talk about the malls at Iverson, the shops at Iverson, and this great transformation of this mall. I remember shopping here as a kid, well, maybe not a kid, a little teenager, and when it opened in '67, and it has transformed. But we have a tool that we're able to use because of the vision of Rusher and Baker, because of the support of the Prince George's County Council, because of the great team that's in place. So you've all heard about the $50 million Economic Development Incentive Fund. And this is an example of the type of vision that was in place 5 years ago, that we were able to use this tool to fill a gap, to make something possible. This is a $57 million project overall, counting the land acquisition and so forth. Probably not supposed to say that number. But $4 million is coming from the Economic Development Incentive Fund, the single largest EDI fund deal ever. And that $4 million is leveraging $57 million. But you should know the bigger picture of the EDI fund. 35 deals altogether, about $29 million has leveraged over $700 million of investment in Prince George's County. That did not happen by accident. It was a plan. It was a vision. It was hard work to make it occur. And speaking of hard work, I'm here on behalf of the county executive and on behalf of this great economic development team. But really, the brains of the operation are out there. Don Medley with FSC, Ebony Stocks. There you are, Ebony Stocks, right there. Those two folks there. Those are the brains of the operation. We work with Shelley. We work with our great folks in the law office. We work with all the different agencies to take this very important tool and make it work. And we're serious about it, and we're careful about it. The truth is, we say no probably 8 or 9 times to every one time we say yes, because we're careful. But the biggest deal ever. We're going to keep about 450 jobs here. An extra 100 jobs are going to come through that. There's a local small minority business component aspect of this project. All those factors where you're able to bring the public investment to support private entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs who are taking their own money and risking it. But they don't see it as a risk, folks. They see this as a transformative project here. And I want to talk about one more thing in connection to this Iverson project. The part you're next going to hear about is the Suitland part of it. Because if it wasn't for the larger community, if it wasn't for Tom Himmler's focus on Suitland, and all the folks who have been focusing on the Suitland area, the county executive in particular calls it one of his favorite areas in the county. We're doing this Iverson project because of the bigger picture of what's going on in Suitland. Again, it didn't happen by accident. It's part of a plan. We are accomplishing great things in Prince George's County. I am thrilled to be here as part of this team. I really want to thank all of you who have been part of the Economic Development Incentive Fund process, because it is a complicated process. But I can't match the councilman, and he's my good friend. But we have different type of styles, obviously. But I want to tell you, we are all so enthusiastic and so happy that we're part of this project. So thank you very much. Let's make it happen.
All right, David. Good job, David.
I told you he'd be equally as riveting. Next, so David gave you a little glimpse into the full scope of this. Today, we're at what was once called Iverson Mall, which is now today called the Shops at Iverson. But another big piece of this is the efforts that our redevelopment authority and our revenue authority are going to be engaged in terms of redevelopment of the Suitland area. You see some wonderful renderings over there, but I'm going to bring up Howard Ways, who is the executive director of our redevelopment authority, who's been doing a phenomenal job around the county, just doing nice redevelopment projects, bringing in mixed use and other things all over this county. So I'm going to bring Howard up to give us a few words about what's going on or what will be going on in hot Suitland.
Howard, you got a tie on today, man.
Oh wow! So I'm getting picked on by the county executive for wearing a tie. For those of you who know me, I wear a tie about 3 or 4 times a year, and it's usually on great occasions like this. Right. And on behalf of our board, represented today by Tom Himmler and our chair Monty Cooper, I want to bring you greetings from the Redevelopment Authority of Prince George's County, and our partner sister agency in our project, the Revenue Authority, represented here today by Donnie James. When I came on board almost 4.5 years ago, the Suitland redevelopment was told to me to be the most important project that the Redevelopment Authority was going to be engaged in. And not a day goes by when I see the county executive that the first thing he asked me is what's going on with Suitland. And I'm here to say, Mr. Executive, a lot is going on in Suitland. And we're about to make a couple of big announcements on development partners that we're going to hire as part of the first phase of the redevelopment. But the project, to get to this point, required the hard work of a lot of individuals that I just want to acknowledge today. I first want to acknowledge Steve Paul, the Associate Director of the Redevelopment Authority, who manages the project. I'd like to recognize Tracy Benjamin from the Office of Law, who's worked with us on this project. And we had a top-notch consultant team that worked with us through the land use process, represented today by Mr. Harold Johnson. And Suitland is part of the Transforming Neighborhood Initiative's efforts. I would be remiss if I didn't mention some of the community partners like Ms. Jones, Ms. Bowman that are here today. Ms. Jacobs was here earlier. We have great working relationships with all these communities, led by Reggie Parks and Linda Turner. Linda's here today. Give it up for Linda. And lastly, because this agency is going to be a real partner with us as we move forward in the next phase of redevelopment, Gwen Kirkley from the Department of Public Works and Transportation. All right, let's give it up for Gwen. So I just want to talk a little bit about where we are today and where we're headed with the redevelopment of Suitland. As many of you know, this has been a long-standing project in Prince George's County, a priority for many, many years. And the county has invested, $48 million towards the acquisition and demolition of dilapidated properties in the Suitland area. And the result of that is it created a redevelopment opportunity within a half mile of the Suitland Metro Station with a short walk to the Suitland Federal Center. And this project, we hope, will be a catalyst to help improve the quality of life for all of the surrounding neighborhoods in the Suitland area around Silver Hill and Suitland Road. But just to give you a sense of the scale of the project, I just want to read some numbers to you. So the first phase of the project alone will have 219 market rate for sale townhouses. We will have 348 market rate apartments. We will have 137 senior apartments. We have plans for a 50,000 square foot performing arts center for the community. 80,000 square feet of new retail and 1,500 parking spaces, all will be part of the initial phase of the redevelopment. All totaled, the project will probably cost around $360 to $400 million, easily the largest single investment by the county in this part of the county, without a doubt. And we couldn't have gotten there without the partnership between the county executive and the county council. You may have heard mention of the tax increment financing. That is a financing tool, a public financing tool that is helping to pay for the acquisition of additional properties in the Suitland area. There's a $28 million tax increment financing bond that has been issued that will help us get to that effort. I mentioned the $48 million that had been invested previously. In the last year or so, the county invested nearly $1.5 million to get through the zoning and land use entitlement process. This is an unusual project in the sense that the county, through the redevelopment authority, is acting as the master developer. So the county's commitment, above and beyond what it's already committed to doing, is to design and build the streets and the utilities, what's known as the infrastructure for the project. And that's a significant investment, and that investment will pave the way for the apartments and the townhouses that I mentioned earlier. We're looking at an investment of probably another at least $22 million just in the infrastructure alone to make the development happen. And so the development, as it's been designed, and you see here on the presentation boards, is really to be community-oriented, to be a walkable place, a place where people from all the surrounding communities in Suitland can come to and gather and enjoy the retail, enjoy the open space, and for those who live there, they have the benefit of being able to walk to work, get to the metro station, or walk to the community amenities. And we think that this project will sort of set the standard for other large-scale, mixed-use, walkable communities as they're developed throughout the county. So I just want to say thank you again on behalf of the Redevelopment Authority staff and board, and look forward to making some more announcements in the very near future about some of our upcoming development partners in this endeavor. Thank you very much.
I left out an important group that does, and I thought of it before this, but he gave me a perfect segue when he said walkable. I forgot all about to mention the Iverson Mall walkers. I know they're here. I don't know if they're walking around the mall, but they do it. A couple of them are around, but they are an important part of this community, and what they do, just by walking the community, no matter where you live, you know what it means. You see the streets, you see the shops, you see the people. So walking is not just good for your health, physical health, it's good for the health of your community. So thank you very much for all you do walking. I know the county executive has walked with you and been with you before. Without further ado, I'm going to bring up our county executive who often talks about this community, Suitland, Marlow Heights, all of it, on a regular basis. I'm not going to take his steam, but I do want to say, and everyone said it before, it takes someone with the vision of where it can go and what it can be. And the county executive has been that visionary for us for the last 5 years. So I'm going to bring forth the visionary, the leader, and the man who runs this county on a daily basis, our county executive, Rashern L. Baker III.
Thank you. Thank you, Barry. I'm going to try not to be long, but, I'm sitting right next to... Did he speak?
I stayed home.
Man, I'm sure he did preach. Sheriff, thank you for being here. Can we give Melvin High a round of applause? And so, I'm going to get to my remarks in a minute, but I'm sitting here next to Councilmember Davis, and he's telling me a couple of things I'm going to share on camera. One, he reminds me, as we're sitting here, standing here, that it was his vote that got us over the edge to get the EDI fund, David. So let's give him a round of applause. Yes, and then in the same breath, he reminded me that this investment, Councilmember Franklin, is larger than the investment we're making in downtown Largo. So he puts, he gives you something, he puts a little dig in there. He's like, I help you. Nobody believed in you when you were trying to do this. Let me just say, first of all, Tim, let me thank you and Iverson Mall for being willing to invest in this community. Can we give them a round of applause? I know Councilwoman Toles could not be here, but we got to give her a round of applause because nobody, hits me over the head as often as she does about Suitland. She's like, I don't see anything happening. I said, sweetie, it's coming. There are a couple of people, a couple of things I do want to say. 5.5 years ago, probably a little over that, on a hot day like this, we were standing right over there. Actually, I was sitting in here, and Barry was with me, very nervously, about to make the third announcement that I'm running for county executive. I wasn't nervous on the first one. I was a little nervous on the second one. I was a lot nervous on the third one. And we were making it not where I knew best, not our home in Cheverly, but we were making it in a community that I got a chance to see on a daily basis, because all three of my children went to school at Suitland High School. And that's right, go Rams. And they all came right over to this mall, even if I told them not to. And I got a chance to see this community as I was bringing, especially my youngest child, to school. And all I could think about was the opportunity that this community had. That it spoke for the opportunity not just for the Suitland community, but for Prince George's County, Mr. Chair, at large. And so when we kicked off the campaign, we said, opportunity. And we not only went to kick off the campaign right here to make a commitment that we were going to make this happen, because it's hard to go back on a campaign promise when you got pictures of it. It's hard. We did it purposefully. And to make sure that we were committed, we did a commercial, Howard. We did a commercial with me standing along here, and we showed Virginia and Montgomery County on that commercial and the buildings going up and all the great things that were happening. And then we showed what was here in Suitland. And we asked people what they saw. And before they could answer, we said opportunity. So it meant that we had to get to work. And in order to make that vision come true, I needed some people who could see it, do it. That's why David talked about the EDI fund and how we brought it together, how we got the council. And it was a tough one. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. It's hard to go to somebody in an individual district and say, guess what? We're going to take $50 million when the economy is downturn, when we have a $115 million budget deficit, but we're going to take $50 million and we're going to invest in us. We're going to bet on us. That is not easy, because there are priorities, there are things we need. And to make it even harder, we said to them, Councilmember Franklin, that guess what? Your district may not get a lot of this money. That we're going to invest in those areas that we think have the greatest potential and also greatest challenges. But we want you to vote to give us the right to do that. And they did it. And Pastor Hayes, right there, over at your church, we signed the agreement that I have in my office. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being at the beginning, and thank you for being here to see it through and believing in us. So all that allowed us to be where we are today. It also gave me the opportunity, there's something we always say in the county. And Barry and Tom and those folks, they know it well. Roland, he's heard it too many times. They know I love, I read biographies. That's how I keep saying as I'm riding around. And one of my favorite, quotes comes from Theodore Roosevelt. He said, in difficult situations, the best thing to do is the right thing. The second best thing to do is the wrong thing. The worst thing to do is nothing. From the very beginning, we were determined to do something, and we were determined to get it right. And so every day, I would go to poor Mr. Himmler. I say, Thomas, you know I love Suitland. He said, Mr. County Executive, I know that. I said, Thomas, I really love Suitland. He said, I know that. I said, Thomas, I better see something coming up out of the ground before I leave this camp. He said, we got you, Mr. County Executive. I said, you know, it'd be great to have a new visual performing arts high school, wouldn't it? Yeah, right. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be right here? Wouldn't it be great to see the development of Suitland around here and the investment they're making in Iverson Mall? Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. And you know, I gotta give him credit. He said, no sweat. He said, I'll find the money. I'll put it together. Look at him, he's like so happy. He was like, that's the easiest assignment that I've ever been getting. He said, I'll get with Howard Ways. You know, he's doing a great job. Why give him something easy? Give him the difficult stuff. I'll get with Peter Shapiro. I'll get with Iverson Mall, David. We'll get Linda Turner. She said, yay, you know, transforming neighborhoods over here. I say that, and I almost don't say it tongue-in-cheek. These things don't happen by themselves. They don't happen with campaign slogans. They don't happen with drive-bys, which is you stop here, you shake some hands, and you leave. And they don't happen by the person who stands before you today. They happen by the men and women who are in the offices, like Mr. Himmler, like Howard Ways, like David Iannucci, like Linda Turner, the people who are in there doing the real work. Because they get it, we can stand here and talk about what's going to happen in this community. I close everywhere I go. If I'm around the state talking about economic development, Mr. Coleman, I close with this. You know, I tell people we're going to do $7 to $8 billion worth of development with a B at one time throughout all of Prince George's County. There is no part of our great county, 500 square miles, that there isn't something going on. And it's great. From Brandywine to Laurel to Largo, you name it. But I always close with this. I say, you know, there's a lot of good stuff going on, and I'd like to let everybody in on a little secret, but you can't share it. Turn off the cameras. Invest in Suitland. Invest. There are many things. Yes, invest in Suitland. This is where you want to buy and live. If you got property here, don't sell it. There are very few guarantees that I can give. But the one that I'll leave you with is this community is being redeveloped. It's going to have all the things that we expect of a vibrant, great part of Prince George's County. And it really is going to lead the way for the rest of the county. God bless you, and thank you for staying with us.